I'm a municipal judge from the state of Utah.
Hello, Alabama. Very nice to see you. My name is Matt Gutwein. I am retired, but I previously taught constitutional litigation and civil rights at the Indiana University Maurer School of Law. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation this afternoon.
Introduce yourselves.
Sure. My name's Ethan Wavra. Next year, I will attend Auburn University and study chemical engineering as a precursor to med school.
Hi, I'm Carson Hughes. I'll be going to Mississippi College next year, where I'll be studying English and economics.
And I'm Walt Phillips. I'll be attending Washington and Lee University next year, planning on majoring in engineering and economics. Our teacher is Miss Amy Maddox, and we're very happy to be here.
All right, well, let's get started. Today, we are going to be having question number 1, which reads as follows. A result of the decision in Wisconsin v. Yoder is that any parent, guardian, can refuse to let their child go to school beyond the 8th grade or learn about a subject by saying it's against their religious beliefs. Do you agree or disagree with the result of this decision? Why or why not? What words, if any, are found in the U.S. Constitution or in state constitutions that protect the right to an education? How have courts balanced religious beliefs with other rights?
Thank you. May we begin?
Mm-hmm.
Last month, the Alabama House of Representatives reconsidered a 1993 law that banned yoga instruction in Alabama's K-12 schools. Yet, the proposed new law would still ban chanting, mantras, and namaste greetings due to their religious undertones. Since Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptist Church, the discussion to defining the proper boundaries between free exercise and establishment of religion in schools has continued to prove challenging. We do agree with the ruling in Wisconsin v. Yoder, as the opinion properly upheld the free exercise clause in the face of a questionable compelling state interest. However, in the years since Wisconsin v. Yoder, parents have removed children from secondary schools for a growing variety of reasons, including bullying, parental interests, and most notably now, for coronavirus concerns. In fact, the number of homeschooled students rose by almost 1 million from 1999 to 2016. And a recent National Parents Union study showed more than 60% of kids were learning virtually this past school year due to the pandemic. While we support the religious freedom protected by Wisconsin v. Yoder, we strongly advocate for clear instructional parameters to ensure that students obtain necessary life skills, whether they be traditional, virtual, or homeschooled students.
Though an integral part of the American experience, education is not a constitutionally protected fundamental right. In fact, the United States is one of the few countries in the world that neglects to list education in their national constitution, and is the only one that has not ratified the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of a Child, which promises education to all children. Furthermore, in San Antonio Independent School District v. Rodriguez in 1973, the court reinforced that there is no fundamental right to education found in the United States Constitution. Yet, educational rights are found in all 50 states, many having provisions like Alabama's Section 256, requiring a liberal system of public schools throughout the state. The Supreme Court held in Plyler v. Doe in 1982 that if a state provides a public education, then it must be provided to all children, citizen or not, protecting education as an important state right.
Unlike education, religion has deep protections in both the federal and state constitutions. Religion is the first right protected by the First Amendment in both the free exercise and establishment clauses. After state incorporation of these clauses in the Cantwell and Everson cases of the 1940s, the court has frequently revisited the tensions between religious freedom and the right to an education. In Yoder, the court favored the free exercise clause over the compelling state interest of compulsory education. However, the court had previously used the establishment clause to protect the right to a secular education over denominational religious preferences in Engle v. Vitale, 1962, balancing these two forces. Religious considerations in other areas are similarly complex. In Oregon v. Smith, 1990, the Supreme Court ruled that the Free Exercise Clause did not protect drug use for a religious ceremony, thus seemingly elevating neutral application of the law as the new standard. However, in 2014's Hobby Lobby v. Burwell, the court held that the 1993 Religious Freedom Restoration Act, or RFRA, allowed companies to cite free exercise to deny birth control coverage that was guaranteed by the neutrally applied Affordable Care Act. Thus, the court seemingly tends to balance the freedom of religion by a nuanced case-by-case approach. Due to the evolving nature of religious case law, the demands of a 21st century education, and now a global pandemic, we assert that Wisconsin v. Yoder has become increasingly irrelevant. However, due to the ever-changing nature of religion and education, lawmakers, citizens, and courts must continue to uphold the proverbial wall of separation in order to protect both of these consequential American rights. Thank you. We are ready for your questions.
Great, thank you. Let's talk about Wisconsin v. Yoder. Is it relevant? Or is it increasingly irrelevant? And how it relates to the coronavirus, vaccines, and going back to school. There are, as you know, schools require several vaccines to go to school. Some states allow for religious exemptions of those vaccines, and students are still allowed to go to school. Should schools have the right to require a COVID vaccine prior to a student returning? Or should that, somehow that right be balanced, the religious right? Should there be a religious exemption for parents and families that don't want to have the vaccine? Who wins in that fight?
So I would say here that the government, as long as they follow the precedent set in Oregon v. Smith, which is neutral application of law, as long as this law applies neutrally to religious and non-religious people, then schools can compel children to have the COVID vaccine in order to come back. Although Oregon Smith did not explicitly overturn Wisconsin v. Yoder, the court decided they would not use the standard of a compelling state interest, so they would not accidentally create judicial law, giving them this neutral platform that's a lot firmer to stand on. And they deferred to Congress on this compelling state interest idea. So yes, I believe schools would be able to do that.
And I think this discussion goes farther, and it's just the idea of individual liberties and the ideal of the common good, those Lockean principles of the social contract. And so I think in a time now, like the coronavirus pandemic, I think that schools have that right, as Ethan said, religiously through Oregon v. Smith and RFRA, but also that right in the idea of preserving the common good and making sure the students are healthy when they're coming back to the school.
I think we sort of need to promote this idea like an enlightened self-interest, where we all have our own personal ambitions, but we realize that to get there, we often have to sacrifice things for other people. So even if we aren't even if necessarily I don't want to be vaccinated, or even I don't want to wear a mask, I think we need to realize that, well, if these people that I'm around consistently would prefer me to, and it would be in their best public health for that to happen, then maybe that's something we should all be doing.
Given what you had said in your opening remarks, you hinted at necessary life skills. You mentioned the rights of the child, part of that UN Charter group. How do you balance where parents have a responsibility, despite their religious beliefs, for the well-being and welfare of a child, compared to the child's interest in getting a quality education to have those essential life skills?
Well, I kind of want to look to the Amish community to think about this, because there is recent pushback against Wisconsin v. Yoder in the 21st century for this exact reason. This decision almost takes away the rights of the child to have an education, and it really hinders their ability to have a productive future. And I think that parents need to have consideration for their children's opinions in situations such as these. Pierce v. Society of Sisters is one of the most important precedents in this kind of idea that we're talking about, where parents are allowed to homeschool their children, but they must follow parameters set by the government.
And within that lies the idea of to what extent is it the choice of the student? And these questions, Dr. Chen, are still being talked about today. In Cook v. Raimondo in 2020, the issue was whether these people, it came out of 12 Rhode Island students, and whether they are able to become effective citizens of the world. As we know, the 14th Amendment talks about equal protection for all citizens. And they argue that if they don't earn an effective education, then they are not able to be effective citizens. So we have to think about, to what extent do we need the people that are educated to be effective citizens, and how do we get them there?
I'll give you another real live fact situation. In the state of California, in light of COVID, governor of California issued a number of public health restrictions on people's activity, including preventing more than 3 families gathering in private homes. Neutral on its face, no mention of religion, isn't sorting out religion, but also had other exceptions that, for example, people could go to grocery stores and hardware stores and the mall, but could not gather in private people's homes. Individuals who were religious sued, claiming because they wanted to engage in Bible study and prayer in private homes. What's the analysis for that case? Is it the Smith analysis that you've already mentioned? And who should win that case?
So the case you're speaking of right now is Tandon v. Newsom, coming out of California, of course, and I believe Justice Clarence Thomas wrote the majority opinion on this case. His argument, which would also be my argument, is that it would be a neutral application given that people are allowed to go to grocery stores and engage in their private business there, that we should also neutrally apply this and allow them to engage in their private business at home. So people should be able to meet in others' homes the same way they're able to go to the grocery store or go eat in a restaurant. And that does follow the neutral application principles set in Oregon v. Smith.
Now, why do you say that's neutral? Because in Oregon versus Smith, they banned peyote, but they didn't ban alcohol, or they didn't ban medical marijuana. I mean, there were all kinds of exceptions that really only applied to a certain class. So it was not as if it banned every single substance that's mind-altering.
Well, the neutral application standard that I'm referring to is if the law neutrally applies to religious and non-religious institutions, and it does not matter what the law is banning in this situation. It's just if it's neutrally applied.
That's true in California as well. In California, it's nobody can gather in people's homes. It's not just religious. If you're going to go to play cards or watch TV, it's not. There's nothing on its face that covers religion.
Yes, sir, and I understand that point, and I agree with that idea, but the idea is that private and public are equal in this situation, so therefore it is not neutral if you grant the public the ability to go and meet in public.
Would there be a similar distinction in participating in religious events during school or after school? So, how would you contrast, say, a prayer at a graduation with having an after-school pro-life club?
Well, ruled in Lamb's Chapel versus Center Morris's Union Free School District is that public schools can be, and those public properties can be used for religious events. And also in Good News Club, you can have these religious clubs because it is not neutrally applied. It is not establishing religion on these people. However, in a graduation ceremony, that is neutrally applied. That is affecting all students. And so I think there's that distinction, is that if it is secluded and it is not a public access to where everyone is being forced upon this religion, then that is where it would be restricted.
In Morse v. Frederick in 2007, for instance, that's the famous Bong Hits for Jesus case. There was a school activity after school where there was a banner that said Bong Hits for Jesus. There was also T-shirts, and the principal sued the students. Students filed a First Amendment claim. What ended up happening was that because the principal claimed it interfered with may I continue? I finish my statement? Thank you. Because it interfered with pedagogical pursuits, then it was not allowed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great job, Alabama. Congratulations to you, the team, and to your teacher. And the judges will now give you feedback.
All right, fantastic. You guys know your history, you know your current events, you know what the Supreme Court ruled on a month ago. And you started off with an Alabama case about something that's being done right now. I thought you guys did a really, really great job. We've been judging all day, and you guys gave us a ton of new information. So I was impressed. You guys did a fantastic job. Congratulations to your teacher and to you.
I agree with the senator. I liked your approach rather than going with the conventional approach, tackling Wisconsin v. Yoder right away. You took it from the side view and came right in and drove down that Yoder highway, for want of a better term. I do like the fact that you incorporated some essential ideas and ideology, and that you tackled also the universal rights of the child from a UN Charter. You're the first ones who have done so, but you also took the approach of the pragmatics of the whole notion of the involvement and entanglement of religion and the practicality. So well done, very well done.
I could not agree more. What a spectacular presentation. Really smart, really nuanced understanding of these evolving constitutional issues in recognizing what Yoder held, and then your understanding that Yoder is less relevant today than it was in 1971 or 72, whenever it was decided. First time we've heard bong hits for Jesus today. Really great case. And also congratulations on sticking to your guns after some kind of effort to challenge you a little bit, and you didn't back down. You stood your ground, and with firm constitutional analysis and reasoning, and so just an absolutely wonderful presentation. I know you can tell you gentlemen have studied day and night and read hard and thought about it and internalized it. And you also look like you're having fun too. So just really wonderful job. Can't be more impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you. It
We
was
really appreciate it.